Kevin Stefanski, Browns head coach, before the practice today, asked about Myles Garrett's speeding ticket over the weekend where he was going over 100 miles an hour in Strongsville.
Extremely disappointing. It's been addressed with Myles, with the football team. He needs to slow down for his safety and the safety of others.
Spencer, this is coming off an accident where he flipped his car 3 years ago. I know you've kind of dealt with this on the Locked On Browns podcast. Is this becoming a concern?
Yeah, and I want to preface this the same way I did with the Shedeur Sanders situation back in June, where he got the 2 speeding tickets in the course of like 2 weeks. I don't think generally speeding tickets have to be, some indictment on a person or a player in this instance or whatever. Like they are minor offenses in the grand scheme of things, and the most important thing is that obviously everybody's okay and he didn't flip another car, all that type of stuff. But what I think is different when we're sort of comparing the two situations, it's like Shedeur Sanders, yes, okay, not familiar with Cleveland, first of all, and the stretch where Myles got this ticket is where one of the tickets that Shedeur Sanders got also happened. And it's the same stretch of the highway that everyone always points out. There's always cops there, guys. You got to learn that pretty quickly. And so Myles at this point should know that. But I also think Myles at this point should just know better in general. And that's the biggest difference. Is okay, Shedeur's a young kid. We all do dumb stuff when we're young. And we can sort of look past that as long as it does become a trend the same way that it has with Myles. I mean, everyone was pulling up the receipts on how this is the 8th time he's gotten a speeding ticket since he entered the NFL. Obviously, you mentioned the accident from a couple years ago, which was absolutely you saw the images of his car, and it was pretty remarkable that he came away mostly unscathed from the entire situation and his passenger. And, Myles talked at the time about how that was a learning lesson for him and an opportunity to sort of get better as a person and, learn from his mistakes. And clearly that hasn't necessarily resonated. So again, it doesn't have to be the end of the world, but when you're talking about the player who has had repeat offenses with this now and is the player that also flipped the car like we talked about and is, by the way, the highest paid player on your team who just, forced the team's hand to get this massive contract over the weekend, who the owner did challenge to be a more prominent leader and do things the right way and lead by example. And that's the biggest, I know Myles isn't the raw guy, but the easiest thing he can do is just lead by example, do the right things on and off the field. And, this sort of is a setback against that idea that Myles kind of has to uphold that type of person and leader on this team. So, yeah, I think it's disappointing. Again, we don't have to dwell on it and talk about it for weeks on end, but I do think it's just sort of further evidence that, Myles maybe isn't the leader that people think he should be. And that, I think it does speak a little bit to just the organization as a whole, lacks that leadership, because the guy that you're sort of turning to, the highest paid player on the team, the face of the team in a lot of respects, is still doing things that are questionable. So, we move forward. Myles, I'm sure, is going to show up on the field on Sundays, and that's the most important thing. But yeah, I can understand where Kevin and the organization probably are a little disappointed that it happened to that player specifically, who is kind of the guy they look at to set the tone on these types of things.